Happy Wednesday. I'm back here doing another podcast. Like I told y'all during this time of hiatus ish, you know what I mean? I'm going to pod kind of when I want to, not gonna be podding on a set schedule, but I decided to pod a little bit today. What do we got upcoming, man? I got a NBA preview coming soon with Joel and Eric again. I'm gonna have Tyler Blackman come back on. He wants to talk a little college basketball. I'm gonna talk to him about my issues with college basketball and why I don't watch it. And we'll probably hit some other things that matter in the world. But for today's episode, we're gonna talk about like what is a goat or what is the goat. We're gonna talk a little bit about boss culture. Then we're gonna transition to whom much is given, much is required. And then finally, I'm going to talk about the erosion of some of our institutions that we are in love with. So let's start it off, man. What is a goat? It's a farm animal, right? With horns that make butter and goat milk, goat cheese. They eat tin cans and all of that stuff. Yeah, that's a goat. But I'm speaking to the greatest of all time. And now I'm starting to see this term be used time and time again to describe multiple people who do the same thing. Here's the thing about being the greatest of all time, it means that who you are supersedes everybody else who's done what it is that you're doing. You can't be the GOAT of an era because all time means like all of the time, right? You can't be like, you can't say, well, Tom Brady's a GOAT, LeBron's a GOAT, Tom Brady's a GOAT, Peyton Manning's a GOAT, Jerry Rice is a GOAT. No, 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 no. There is not a GOAT. You can't be a GOAT unless you are on a farm. You have to be the GOAT. You can only be the GOAT if you are speaking to somebody who is better at something than everybody else, or somebody who is more accomplished than everybody else. That is what the GOAT is, right? Like, oh my God, I didn't introduce the podcast. Hey, 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 it's the big baby. And I am the GOAT, right? Because like I am the GOAT podcast. Like nobody can podcast better than me. And even if you don't know that, I know that. And eventually the world's gonna believe that, right? That's why they call me Big Baby the GOAT. But back to the serious matters is, and you can be the GOAT, right? And then not be the best. Like we consider Tom Brady to be the GOAT of football, but today he is not the best quarterback in football. Why? Because his production has fallen off. He's not what he once was. He's no longer in his prime. But if we're going to stack up careers, no one touches him. No one's won at the level that he's won and still had the high end production. So Brady's the GOAT. Mahomes is the best. You see the difference? So just because you are the GOAT does not mean that you are necessarily the best on every single day. GOAT speaks to entirety. It speaks to all time. It is not just one era. It is just not multiple people. You can't have multiple GOATs in the same sport, okay? You can't have multiple GOATs in the same industry. Got it? Question answer. Any questions? No. Okay. Next topic. Boss culture, man. Everybody wants to be a boss. I'm the biggest boss that you've seen thus far. Huh. You know what I mean? Everybody wants to be a boss. Everybody thinks they are a boss. But guess what? If everybody is a boss, the trash ain't going to get taken out. And if the trash don't get taken out, then when people come to your place for business, they're going to walk right out because it stinks. Now just think about that. If everybody's a boss, then a lot of work's not getting done. Guess what? If everyone's a boss, then you don't have custodial staff. You don't have an administrative assistant. You don't have somebody to answer your phone, take messages for you. You don't have an IT staff. Everybody can't be a boss. And there's no shame in not being a boss. Some people don't care to have to think about planning this and that and the third. It's like, okay, I'm going to go in, I'm going to get paid this amount of money for doing this amount of work. Cool, easy. Some people like the idea of a set salary. With a set salary, it's easier to set your budget. Now, do you necessarily have the same opportunities and the same freedom? No, you don't, because you're tied to a contract. But some of us choose comfortability over entrepreneurship. There we go. And there's nothing wrong with that. Now, I advise people to go out to try to be the biggest boss you can if that's what's your personality, if you have the skill set to be good at it. But the idea of shaming people for not wanting to be a boss, it's crazy because again, if everybody is a boss, then the trash ain't getting taken out. And we don't want our building stinking. You know what I mean? Like, who really wants to be in a stinking building? Personally, I don't. And the same thing with this boss culture, man. I see all of these different posts talking about some, if you just get this side hustle and you do this, this, and that, you're going to make way more money than what you could just by working a day job. Okay, good for you. How much effort are you putting into that? Or my time ain't worth only $25 an hour. Okay, good for you. Some people's time is. Some people don't want to work that hard. You know what I'm saying? I saw a post and I probably screenshotted it. I just don't feel like looking it up. And somebody was talking about how you can learn you learn more about business hustling than you can ever learn in the classroom because all the teacher's going to do is teach you what they know, but they ain't even getting paid a lot of money to be teaching. And it's like, bro, you are oversimplifying something that is very complex. Yes, are there abilities to exploit markets that don't require an education to do so? Yes. But is there necessarily always a market available for you to exploit? Or do you have the skill set to exploit the market? Do you have the time to gain the skill set to exploit the market? I don't know. But does it hurt to go to school and get an education and become a better person? Gain a skill set that makes you a more marketable individual? No, it doesn't hurt. Like, I'm not going to be mad at anybody for going to get a formal education. Now, if you know me, you know I have my issues with formal education. Like, why do I need you to tell me that I know how to understand and retain knowledge? Why do we have all of these stuff in our curriculums that do nothing for us in the long run? Yeah, y'all know I stand there on that. But at the same time, I understand that a formal education opens many doors for you, especially if you don't have the network to get where you want to be. But also, it gives you the opportunity to build the network to get to where you want to be. And I think that's very, very, very important. And it's very important for us to be responsible with our platforms and ensure that we are properly educating people based on our experiences. But if we are wrong, or if we are looking at something one-sided or giving our opinion, we need to paint it as such, not paint things as fact. Like, yeah, I remember when I was 22 and I was struggling because I wasn't making much money. Hey, I'm gonna be honest with you, 22-year-olds don't really make money. A lot of times people don't start making their big money until they're in their 30s, until they're in their 40s. Like, the idea that you're supposed to peak in your 20s is nuts. Now, for those who do peak in their 20s, good on you. Those who start up here at 22, I'm proud of you. I want to be like you when I grow up. But for those of us who really had to grind and, incremental victories here, incremental victories there, setback, victory here, victory there, setback, setback, then some more victories, that's okay. Don't compare your process to others. Just compare your process to you. Be aware of what's going on around you. Now, I don't say live like this, we don't want to live in an echo chamber. We don't want to have blinders on. But if you're happy in your process and your needs are being met, though your loved ones are being taken care of, your family's being taken care of, you're being taken care of, don't worry about it. You're good. An old saying goes, to whom much is given, much is required. And I think it's very important that we understand that the more and more responsibility that we gain, the more and more we advance in life, we owe it to society to pay it back. We owe it to those around us to pay it back. And if you bite off a big chunk of that apple, guess what? It's going to take you longer to chew that big chunk of apple than it would be if you took a small chunk. And guess what? You may have bit off too much and it can't all go down your throat at the same time. And you got to understand that. But here's the thing that we have to understand. When we are leaders, we are expected to lead. And if we are put in a situation in which we are to lead, we have to lead no matter what. There can be times where you no longer want to work at this institution. You may no longer want to work for this company. You may no longer want to play on this team. But if you are supposed to be the face of this team, the face of this organization, the face of this section, if they put their money in your pocket and you signed a contract to say, hey, I will provide this for you for this amount of time, you owe it to yourself and those people on your team, those people in that organization to do it. And honestly, you owe it to the people who you promised that you were going to fulfill a certain requirement. And I know it gets hard because sometimes we sign up for one thing and then variables get in the way and it changes where we want to go. And this is what I'm seeing in NBA culture. You see the issues with the Clippers and their team chemistry because Kawhi wants to live in San Diego as opposed to LA, which makes him late for team flights. And he gets special privileges that some of the other players don't get. And we all understand that when you are great, you get special privileges. There's nothing wrong with special privileges, but it's how you execute your special privileges to ensure that you're not disenfranchising those around you. And James Harden, the same thing. Like, I really want to come up here and rip James Harden, but then, I get more information and more information. I go, how can I rip this man for being upset with an organization for not listening to him when they've listened to him since he got there in 2012? Almost 10 years, they've listened to everything that he said when it comes to players, when it comes to coaches, when it comes to management, when it comes to practice time, when we're going to leave, if we're going to stay in the city, all of that stuff. They say, hey, you produce and we'll give you these perks. But at the same time, James, it's like, dang, man, you've been given the perks. How about you produce? How about you show up? Maybe they don't hire the coach that you want now because they're trying to take some of that leverage back because they see that this formula is not a championship formula. So you just ain't going to show up. You're going to show up late. You're going to be out and about showing them that you don't really care. Then you show up big. I'm not going to say he's out of shape. I don't know what kind of shape he's in. Maybe he decided to gain some weight. Sometimes we like to change our body up. Me personally, I've added nice little 10 pounds, and I like the little 10 pounds I've added. I'm going to keep it on. So maybe he just said, you know what? I want to carry a little bit more weight this season. It's going to be a longer season. I got to get ready for these beatings that I'm going to get in the playoffs. But the idea that you are under contract for 2 more years and this organization has bent to your every need, and now you say, I want to be moved to a contender because we can no longer contend. The question is, why can't we contend? You ran off the Dwight Howard in the backside of his prime. You ran off Chris Paul when you were a pulled hamstring away from going to your second finals, first finals with this organization. Then you run off your good friend Russ just because of your lack of professionalism. You want to be late for film. You want to be late for practice. It's like, come on, man. How about you show up and do your job? And I'm not sitting here saying that players don't have the right to use their leverage when they have it. I'm not saying that sometimes people won't be late. I'm not saying that he can't say, you know what, I no longer like it here. I want to leave. But part of that is you got a contract, man. And you should honor your contract because you owe it to yourself. You owe it to your teammates. Again, to whom much is given, much is required. Because here's what happens. You end up tearing apart the franchise because they took care of you. If you look at a player like LeBron, he's been given a lot. Teams have bent to his will. You see what happened in Cleveland. He pretty much destroyed that franchise. But guess what? He got him a championship. He delivered. And it was like, hey, I'm here year to year. I'm going to give you my all year to year. But how many players left there hating him? Outside of Kyrie, not many. We'll get to him next. So when you have responsibilities, when you are chosen to lead or you pick yourself to be the leader, if you want to be the alpha in the room, the big dog, you have to take on the responsibilities that come with that. And taking advantage of leverage, taking advantage of weakness in people, it's not okay. It's not right. And some people say you got to let him go. You got to let him go. Do you really have to? I mean, he's supposed to be here. I mean, I'm all for players using their leverage, but my God, don't take advantage of it. I bet if they say, you know what, we don't want to pay you anymore. We're gonna keep you on the team, but no, we're not gonna pay you. We don't want to pay you for your services because we don't like you. That's a breach of the contract, right? It's a two-way street, and I understand that players have been taken advantage of years in and years out. So when you get the opportunity, you want to, show your power. There's the right and the wrong way, and power corrupts. And there's been a lot of people that we've seen who've had immense amount of power, and they've taken advantage of it. And the after effects, the people who don't have the power but are a part of that circle are the ones that really get hurt. And great leaders are supposed to look out for those that they follow, or that follow them, excuse me. That takes me to the erosion of our institutions. As a member of the free media, the media that's not controlled by anybody, the media that's not paid by anybody yet, I like to look at what the media does, and I like to, offer my own opinions on it. I like to criticize the media. I like to criticize what people do. I'm a critic. That's what I do. Those who can't, they media. I'm just going to talk about what you do and how you can do it better. But I see that we're getting to this point now because we have social media, because we have these various outlets to speak, that we're the media is losing the trust of the people. And when people can't trust the media, what do they have? So look at this right here, man. I was writing this piece about how we need more representation in the mainstream media, right? We need, especially in sports media, we need more Black journalists. We need more women journalists. We need more Black talking heads, women talking heads on these major platforms, because you get people talking about you who may or may not know you, and they may or may not understand you or your culture. And when that happens, they will mistell your story. Now, they may be telling a true story from their perspective, but because they don't understand your perspective, for whatever reason that is, the story gets told the wrong way. And when that continuously happens, then you set up a wall against them because you no longer want to talk to them. And then you go to places like All the Smoke, and you have two guys who didn't really care for the media in the way that they were portrayed by the media. And you go there, and then they just pat you on your back, and they don't provide the pushback to tell the actual story. So here's what we get. We get this super friendly media, then we get this super critical media, and then we don't get the truth. We get this is what happened. This is how I felt from my perspective. And then, this is what happened from our perspective. And then it's like, well, what am I supposed to do as a viewer, as somebody consuming this, as the audience? But I'm like, bro, these are two people telling the same story, but none of it sound true. And I wasn't there to see it, so I don't even know what's going on. Why do I need the media now? If I'm not going to get a story, if I'm not going to get a true story, what are we doing here? And I think it's important for us to try to change that dynamic, because you get Kyrie, who's like, I'm not talking to the media because, like, in a sense, like, y'all are pawns and I'm not dealing with this stuff. Well, Kyrie, you say a lot of dumb stuff, and so people become super critical of you because you just say dumb stuff, and then you're cryptic, you're eclectic, you do your own thing. You're like, yeah, man, the earth is flat. And if you feel that way based on what you've consumed, that's between you and your brain. Now, I don't really care. I don't really know if I want to trust what's on your brain, but you get people like him, and then now he's calling the media pawns. Then once you call me a pawn, do I really want to say something nice about you? And now I'm going to take this and spin it away to make you continue to look crazy. And for him, I get it. Like, bro, y'all don't even like think outside the box. Y'all think like everything is what we are told is what it is. And I don't believe that to be true. And I don't blame Kyrie for feeling that way because I don't believe everything that I'm told. So I challenge mainstream thought processes. So I'm not gonna knock someone for challenging mainstream thought processes, but once you get to calling people names and calling them pawns and stuff, now it becomes personal. And when things become personal, eh, 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 you know, that relationship gets jagged, right? But here's another issue I have with people who are being covered by the media is when they get upset with you for telling the truth about them. Now, DJ Vlad has come under some heat, as has DJ Academics. Don't know why they're both DJs, but Vlad and Academics have been coming under heat for some of the stuff that they put on their platforms. And me personally, I try to responsibly use my platform. And do I talk about ignorant stuff? Yeah, sometimes. Do I make jokes that I probably shouldn't make? Often. But do I try to capitalize on putting people in a negative situation just to get clicks on my platform? No. This is not World Star, right? This is not Shade Room. Like I'm not into that type of news. I get that some people like that. I get that people like that clickbait, but I want to provide something of substance. But here's the thing now. If you put something out there and I decide I want to comment on it or I want to take it and use it on my platform, don't be mad at me. You did it. You put it out there. It's like people who get upset with somebody for snitching when it's like, oh no, you can't be a snitch if you get caught up, you know what I mean, and you had nothing to do with it, but you supposed to cover somebody's back. No. If I didn't do it, and I know who did it, and I'm gonna get in trouble. Now I know the truth. I'm not sitting down. But back to Academics, he and Meek got into it in Clubhouse, and I listened to some of the clips of pretty much like you out here putting stuff on your page, getting attention, or they're talking about with Vlad. The feds got information from his interviews with Casanova to get Casanova locked up. Well, hey, don't talk, don't post. If you're doing something illegal, don't tell nobody. If you're doing something you don't want somebody else to do to know, don't tell anybody. Don't take a picture. Don't post it. I'm never gonna knock a journalist for asking a hard question. I'm not gonna knock a journalist for asking you about, oh, you were dealing with this. So how did that go? Because I'm supposed to tell the people the truth, right? I'm supposed to give you information that you're not privy to because I have the access to these people to ask them the questions. Don't get mad at me for asking the question. Be mad at yourself for answering it. If we are going to criticize media for asking people hard-hitting questions or taking something, right, that you posted and then providing our commentary on it, and we're the bad guy? No, that's stupid. You're the idiot. That's idiotic. Yeah, see, I'm gonna post all this money, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? I got all these bands. I ain't got no job. IRS don't know that I exist. Oh, but big baby, you wrong for talking about it. You shouldn't have been talking about my stuff. Well, you shouldn't have put it out there for me to talk about. You shouldn't have gave me the access. You shouldn't have came on the podcast and let me ask the question because I'm gonna ask the question. Because people want to know. If I don't ask the people the questions, then the people ain't gonna listen to me. If I can't provide you something, I'm pointless. So we have to get away from getting upset at people for doing their job, for asking a question. We have to look at ourselves. We have to take some accountability. Now, again, do I support Meek? Is that Meek? Do I support Ack and Vlad? They're not my favorite sources of media, but if they're doing moral stuff and asking questions, we can't be mad at them for that. That's on them. But it's crazy how we see the media falling apart. it's really falling apart because what sells is not necessarily what's true, and what's true doesn't necessarily sell. It's not necessarily entertaining. And how do we find that balance, man? I never thought we would get to the place that there was such a lack of trust with our government that we'd have so many people challenging a fair and free election. And don't get me wrong, I don't think everything that happens is on the up and up. That I'll be insane, I'll be naive to think that. But when you have people within the institution picking and choosing parts of an election that they want to call, fraudulent, from the point of, well, no, I know that this person from this party got elected into the House, but because somebody from that same party didn't get elected to another office, the ballots were fixed. So hold on. You mean so some people couldn't have just, voted against one person in that party and then voted for somebody else in that same party for a different job? I vote split ticket because I don't vote on party lines. I vote on who the candidate is, what I believe they'll do in their track record. So we're just gonna pick and choose. We're gonna pick and choose what we want to, think is real. I think that's a little crazy. I think it's insane. And for it to get to the Supreme Court's desk, for them to have to say no, that's a scary place. The erosion of democracy is a scary place. And even with this vaccine, the split feelings on whether or not we should take this COVID vaccine is a scary place, because I would like to believe that if we're offered a vaccine, it's doing what it says it's going to do. It's a preventative measure for a virus that is affecting our lives. Just like, some people take your flu vaccine, boom. Some people take, your MMR, measles, mumps, and rubella, boom, you take that stuff. All the different various vaccines that we've taken throughout our lives, you think that you'd be like, oh yeah, it's good for us. And now we've gotten to a place, because I know we've been locked down for, Jesus Christ, 9 months in some places, that it's, why are we locked down? Why can we do this but not do that? And I'm here with you. I think it's crazy, the hypocrisy in how we've responded to COVID. But it saddens me that we're at a place that we can't trust medicine from medical professionals. And I'm in that same boat. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not sitting here like, sign me up for the vaccine, give me the vaccine, shoot me up. No, I'm not. I'm skeptical too. But then let me get back to the hypocrisy. How much stuff have I put in my body and I don't know what it is? I've eaten a lot of fast food. I go to restaurants. I drink alcohol. I've been in different places and breathe terrible air. I don't know what's going through my body. I've not even taken an anatomy class in my life, so I barely know what's supposed to be in my body besides water and food. I'm not over here peeling back the nutrition facts on everything that I buy. I don't buy everything fresh. Eat processed food. I've walked away from a drink at the bar. No, I haven't done that one. Not without having somebody watch it. But the fact of the matter is, yeah, we put things in our bodies. And I've said this before, man. Y'all be having sex, bro. Don't know what's in that body you having sex with, but you don't want a vaccine that could possibly help you. I'm not saying you should want it, because, again, I question it. But what I am saying is that, miss me with the I don't know what this is, so I ain't putting it in my body. Man, you don't know what's in your shaving cream. You don't know what's in your hair care products. You don't know what's in your lotion. Some of y'all do drugs. You don't know what's in your drugs. You don't know. You don't know. So stop acting like you know everything that's going on with you and your body. But to conclude, man, we got to get to a place where we can build back trust. And everything I say, man, it starts at home. You got to start trusting yourself. You got to start trusting the people around you in your community, and then hopefully we can get to a place where we can begin trusting our institutions again. We can trust our media, our press. I mean, for God's sake, I never thought that I would support the silencing of people, the people impeding upon the First Amendment. I never thought that I would get to that place, but I'm getting to that place now. I'm like, bro, like you shouldn't be able to talk. Like, why do you get to talk and why does it matter? Like, why should we have to believe what you say when you're saying things that are obviously false? You should not have a platform. And I never thought that I would feel that way. But things change, man. We got to get the trust back, man. Because if America is this great nation, if we want to continue being a great nation, the greatest nation in the world, then we got to trust each other, man. We have to trust our next door neighbor. We got to trust people that we don't know. We got to trust that, I don't know, people have the best interest of the unit and not necessarily the best interest of themselves. And I think that's where we begin. It's getting away from always caring about what's in it for me, what's in it for me, and start thinking about what's in it for us. Big baby, yeah!